now be recorded.
We have completed the 4 sessions, and which it has started with the keynote address by Professor N.V. Raman Rao on online classes, labs, and research, and followed by Dilip Mansis. So he has given very good insight of the emerging trends of 3D printing, and then we have seen the introduction to 3D printing by me, and that is the pre-lunch sessions. And post-lunch session we have one more T&L the content, that is on virtual experiments by Professor A. Ramachandraya, and that was the first day which we have completed. And today we are going to start with the Professor Krishnanand, who is also the coordinator of this program and is almost my guru and my godfather, say. So it's my great pleasure to introduce him before you. So Professor L. Krishnanand is a professor in Mechanical Engineering Department of NIT Warangal and the coordinator for this workshop. He did his BTech in Mechanical Engineering from VR Siddhartha Engineering College, Vijayawada, in 1983, and MTech in Industrial Engineering from NIT Calicut in 1986. He joined as faculty member in NIT Warangal in 1987. Subsequently, he did PhD from NIT Warangal under the legend personality Professor R.L. Murthy Garu, that is in the year 1999, in the area of automatic feature recognition from CAD. And incidentally, his talk today is also on CAD, introduction to CAD. And
Ravi.
Yeah, some noise is coming, sir, from your end.
Palaksha Reddy. Palaksha Reddy.
Narayana.
Sir.
పాలాక్ష రెడ్డి అంట, ఆయన ఒకసారి ఏదైనా మ్యూట్ చేయటం లేదా ఏదైనా చేయండి.
చేశాడులేండి ఇప్పుడు.
ఓకే. సో and incidentally his talk is also on CAD. Hello. Hello.
I think you have to share your screen.
ఎవరు? నారాయణ రెడ్డి. స్క్రీన్ షేర్ పోయిందయ్యా. So, and incidentally he is going to talk on the introduction to CAD and the data formats of 3D printing, and his research areas includes additive manufacturing, supply chain management, and project management. His paper on supply chain management was awarded the best paper for outstanding conceptual theoretical framework in international conference on e-business and supply chain competitiveness held in IIT Kharagpur in 2016. He taught project management at IIT Bangkok, Thailand, as visiting faculty in August 2003. So with this brief introduction, so it's pleasure to hand over the proceedings to Professor L. Krishnanan. So to give the talk on introduction to CAD and data formats of 3D printing systems. Sir, it's over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you,
Can you-
Dr. Ravi, for introducing me to the audience. And good morning to all audience. Now, I think you are using your product time in productively by being part of this particular workshop, and I hope we will not let down you in terms of content and education of this particular workshop. And I hope most of you have some important things to take for your career and future growth of your professional career. So without losing much of time, so today I'm going to give a small introduction to CAD, and then we'll be discussing more in detail about 3D printing file formats. Uh, so the presentation outline will be like this: introduction to CAD systems. Then we will go to geometry, and that means just the definitions of the CAD systems, and then geometrical modeling, like what kind of ways. We will just quickly glance through CSG, BREP, and those things. And then we will go to, so we will be discussing more in detail about the STL file format, what are the problems in STL file format, and then advantages of STL files, and then AMF file format, why we had to invent this or go for this new format, what are the future plans of AMF. In fact, like regarding these AMF file format, here we are only going to introduce the preliminary things, and we are going to discuss in more detail about the F42 committee on AMF formats in my last lecture of this 6-day program. And then we will just skim through just what are the other 3D printing data formats. Okay, so now let us move on to the first of all the definition part. So as you know, what you call as you know, computer-aided design means can be defined as the use of computer systems to assist in the creation and modification, analysis, or optimization of a design. Right? Oh, sorry. And then coming to the specific, see here when we say design, even though different authors have defined design in different ways, computer with reference to computers, we can say like it refers to geometric modeling like 2D and 3D modeling, including drafting, part creation of drawings with various views of the parts, assemblies of the part. All right. And whereas analysis refers to
Sir,
finite element analysis.
Sir. Hello. Sorry to disturb you, sir. Sorry to disturb you, but the screen is not coming. The PPT. I think it's not visible.
Oh, really? Just 1 minute.
Screen share mode పోయింది సార్ స్క్రీన్ షేర్ మోడ్ లో పెట్టండి.
ఓ షేర్ పోయిందా?
Now it is visible.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Visible, sir. Visible.
Okay, okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
one more thing, you can
Ah.
keep your microphone away from your mouth a bit.
Uh-huh.
It is giving some echo.
Oh. Uh-huh. How
But
it
don't.
is now?
No. Still, you can. Hello.
How it is?
No. It's going low.
No.
Yeah. You can. Hello.
How about now?
Yeah. It's good. It's good now. Yeah.
It's good now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Ah.
Continue.
So here we have so design we had defined, then analysis means finite analysis, optimization, and other engineering analysis. So for this, you have to first of all do geometric modeling, and then apply the model is analyzed for roll loads, stresses, moment of inertia, and volume, right? So that is what we do in analysis. And then as part of computer aided design, visualization is also very important, because finally, whenever we design a product, it should also have some aesthetic appeal. So we have to use features like rendering a model, shading a model, and sometimes to create interest in the customer, sometimes you may have to use some kind of animation to develop curiosity regarding to our product. So coming to see, there are initially computers started with 2D drawings. That is the first stage. AutoCAD, for people who recall doing on AutoCAD, it was simply 2D drawings. So in fact, my PhD was in this 2D drawings only, how to recognize machining features from a 2D drawing. My title of the PhD is feature extraction from 2D drawings. So I use DXF formats for that. So that means this is how like we started representing information about products in terms of 2D drawings. That was the first stage of our computer aided design. Then we migrated from 2D drawings to wireframe, then other things. So whereas now we have reached a stage of what is so called digital Play-Doh. In fact, I think most of our participants in this workshop have small kits. So in fact, they can buy this software where they can, it is actually Play-Doh. Originally it started with clay modeling. Rather now, because playing with clay is a bit what do you call, people might fear that they are unnecessarily spoiling their hands and then spoiling their what do you call, clothes. So these same people have come up with what is so called digital Play-Doh. That is, it is a clay, digital clay, with which you can artificially create the models like this that is depicted here. Okay, in fact, like if you type in digital Play-Doh in YouTube or in Google search, you get a lot of information on this. So that means we have started with the 2D drawings. Now we have gone with creating an artificial clay, right? So that is the kind of technological development that happened over these maybe 5 decades. Okay. Now coming to modeling, like we, after 2D drawings, the next stage was wireframe modeling, then surface modeling, and solid modeling. So now solid modeling is the one which we'll be using mostly for our 3D printing technology. So let us see, like wireframe is, it consists of list of curves, curve equations, coordinates of points, connectivity, easy method, ambiguity. So here you can see that here, if you see here, which side is up and which side is down, it is a bit, we can't, by seeing the wireframe, we cannot say whether it is a protrusion or a depression. So that kind of confusion, that's why there is an ambiguity in all the most of the these kind of situations. So, and unfortunately, wireframe model doesn't have any mass or surface. So that's why wireframe modeling is, you can't print a 3D object 3D using 3D printers using wireframe models. Okay, now it is to say nowadays almost you don't use these wireframe models except for what you call visualization purpose, where you do some kind of surface structuring, texturing, and then do that. Okay. Now coming to surface modeler. So it is wireframe data plus surfaces. So surfaces like connectivity, adjacency, that means topological dependencies. You can show interpolation of points, curves, nets, translation or sweeping of curves. All right, and then fit to complex free-form surfaces. That is, as I said before, visual aesthetic design, NC code generation. Because for NC code generation, you need only a surface. So surface modeler is good enough. You need not use always solid modeler, because solid modeler consumes a lot of memory as well as computational. It is computationally intensive. So if you see some of the figures that I have depicted here, like this MIT Strata Center, or Frank Gehry, this is Frank Gehry museum designed in Bilbao, and these are all simple surface modelers, right? They don't have any mass or moment of inertia kind of information, but visualization wise they are good enough for us to visualize. Like for example, this MIT Strata Center, it looks like almost a about to collapse building, right? Even though there are certain criticisms regarding this building, but you are able to do those buildings using a simple surface molder. Now coming to solid molder, so this is the, you can say, the ultimate. You can, where you have a mass information, moment of inertia, then as I said, like it is computationally intensive, huge input data is needed, and then it has a closed volumes, which side is solid and which side is empty, and it is user friendly, right? You do, and there are various ways of modeling a 3D object. Like you can use a kind of hybrid solid plus surface, CSG plus BREP, parametric plus explicit. So depending on, see, most of the ProE or CATIA or SolidWorks, they give various ways of, see now, because of, thanks to Moore's law, now even a desktop PC is capable of supporting a solid modeling. Whereas around 20 years, 30 years back, around in 1990, we have purchased what is so called a Godrej solid modeler based on Motorola chip 68020. It used to run very slowly whenever we used to create a solid. But now, if you take a latest desktop computer, with the simple desktop computer itself, you can load your SolidWorks or ProE. There is a, because of the impact of Moore's law of computing, because as per Moore's law of computing, every 18 months there is a doubling of the speed of the processor. So what happened now? Even a simple Pro E can run on a desktop, whereas this was not the case around 20 to 30 years back, where we had to use special workstations, Sun workstation, Godrej workstation. There are separate hardware with separate graphic accelerator cards. So whereas now with the simple graphic accelerator cards, you are able to run on a laptop, right? And this is all due to developments that had taken place in the hardware side, right? So if you take constructive solid geometry, so we have this is based on the some primitives through which, and using these primitives, right? These primitives and using Boolean operations, you can create any object you want, as long as they are regular in shape. All right. So, like for example, union of rectangle and cylinder will result in this kind of shape. Union. In intersection will subtract, and then difference means you just see like here. So using simple Boolean operations and basic primitives, you can create any industrial component as you please. So that is one thing. Then we have boundary representation, BREP. So here, BREP is based on the philosophy of this polyhedron. That means boundary representation scheme, like you create from vertices to edges, edges to faces, and from faces to this. So this step block is created out of this BREP. So you connect these points, and then based on that you generate this. All right. So, and here you can see that using Euler's equation, like that is v plus f minus edges is equal to 2. So using that particular Euler's equation, you see whether the solid that you have created is as per that particular equation. So in that way, you can verify that whether the solid that you have created using BREP follows this philosophy of v plus f minus edges will that v means vertices, f means faces, e means edges is equal to. So Euler, around almost 150 years back, he came with this polyhedron equation to see whether you have created a very feasible BREP model or not. So in that way, Euler equation is very useful even in 3D printing. While you are generating, you are converting a native format to STL format, right? Anyway, we'll come to that at a later stage, right? So now coming to, so there are 3D basic operations, like basic concept like 2D cross section or profile is used, depth is given to the profile, right? Generally, you create a 2D cross section or profile, and depth is given to the profile. And normally, how you give, there are various ways of generating, like you use extrude, revolve, sweep, blend. So I think most of you who are attending this, you are familiar with these operations. So you can see extrude, how you create a profile and then sweep. This is the sweep direction. Then oblique, you sweep across at an angle. So keeping the cross section constant. All right. But if you do it parallelly, then you don't get anything. So similarly, like you can use step-by-step extrude using this sweeping operation, and you can see like how you start with this, and then next stage like this, then next stage you add this wedge kind of element, union it, and then that is how like you subtract certain shapes so that you ultimately you get this step kind of block. Now coming to revolve operation, you create a cross section and then you rotate that cross section by 360 degrees, or whichever number of degrees of rotation you want. So here you can see like how you are creating a sphere, a torus, or a pipe by rotating the profile in the appropriate axis, around certain axis, right? And then this is also again an example of revolved part. Normally, how we have simplified this by just creating first of all this profile, and then like you can create profile through some kind of parametric ratios, like this length to radius, some ratio following. So you can design with constraints. This is what we call it as, like in Pro E we do that, or Unigraphics. So those who are familiar with Unigraphics, so you can create this parametric way of creating a profile and then sweep it or revolving around the certain degrees to get the appropriate cross section or full view of the given component. And now coming to sweep and blend. So here we have what you call this is normally done in chemical engineering kind of pipeline design, and then exhaust circuit of a automobile. And then here also you can blend two cross sections gradually, so that whenever the piping has to or even this can be an example for modeling a nozzle of a turbine. Okay, so using sweep and blend also you can create. Now coming to this one, see this is the crucial stage. So here PostScript, like normally whenever we are using various printers, we use this PostScript format. Post is a kind of what you call page description language, or portable data format. So the so-called PDF, whatever PDF file you are creating, this is based on this PostScript. See, the beauty of this PostScript is it has become the almost default way of what you call creating documents in the format of what is so called YCYG. YCYG means what you see is what you get. See, the first, it was popularly used by our Steve Jobs for his Apple printer. Later on, people started supporting this PostScript in for various Canon printer, HP. No, you have various vendors for printers, 2D printers like HP, Canon, Ricoh, but all of them should be compatible to this PostScript. So PostScript is a device independent script format. That means it is device independent, and PostScript was invented in the year 1984 by Adobe. Like Adobe people, I think we should whenever we are taking some printouts from a printer, I think we should appreciate the efforts that Adobe has taken to create this such a beautiful PostScript or what do you call this page description algorithm language. right? So what is PostScript to 2D printers is now we have STL. So STL, what is PostScript for 2D printers? Now STL has become a de facto standard device independent format for 3D printers. That means you take any printer in the world now, all the printers, they should guarantee that they accept STL file format straight away. So internally, that means irrespective of how hardware they are implementing, but finally they should accept STL. That is a minimum benchmark that they should fit in to be worthy of selling a 3D printer. So here, because finally what every 3D printer is using is doing is it is taking STL file and then slicing it at the appropriate level and then trying to create a profile and then generate the G codes and M codes. Actually, the hardware for 3D printer is very simple, because even using stepper motors also you can drive you can create your own portable 3D printer, but with as low cost of 20,000 rupees even. So do-it-yourself kits have come where for 20,000 you can build your own 3D printer using FDM technology. Because as a professor or Dr. Ravi has said, no, like the patents for FDM fused deposition models, like the technology has become copy left. So the rights are now anybody can use anything with regard to FDM because the patents got expired. So that's why, in fact, when we purchased our first FDM machine, it has costed us 22 lakhs. Now, if you see the tabletop 3D printer base, which is built on a open source software like Cura and self-assembled 3D printer, you are able to get it for 20,000. That means almost the technology has become so affordable. And you see inverse, what do you call, impact of Moore's law. So where is 22 lakhs and where is 20,000 now? All right. So that is the order of improvement has come. But what has not changed is STL. Whether machines used the STL format was actually invented. This format was invented by our Chuck Hull way back in 1983 or 1984, when he has created that stereolithography technology. For that purpose, he has created, and now it has become a de facto standard. So what is PostScript to modern printers is now like STL is for the 3D printers. So from 2D for 2D PostScript, for 3D STL. So now you can see the process chain. So you create a 3D model, then do transmission to a computer of RP equipment. There you prepare a model for building, and so say for example, like developing the slicing strategy, and then support structures, everything you have to do on this, and then finally you send the information to the 3D printer, and from there you do some kind of post processing. For example, like if you are using stereolithography, you have to do UV curing. Then if it is other things, then you have to sometimes go for chemical cleaning, sonic cleaning, ultrasonic cleaning, right? So post processing is also a very important stage of 3D printing process chain, because as such, most of the time, what happens is when you have too many overhangs, probably you may have to build those things using support structures. And in post processing, you have to remove those that support structures appropriately. All right. So as I said before, like STL representation, it was invented by Chakal of 3D systems, and the philosophy here is like you create a triangular facets. Like for example, if you take this cube, it has what do you call, this cube is divided, the surface is divided into 12 facets, and each facet in STL format is represented by this face normal Ni, Nj, Nk. So this is the outer loop, like V1x, V1y, V1z. So that means you arrange these vertices in a way like, depending on you applying this right hand thumb rule, when you apply for this, automatically your normal vector will point out upwards. You use this right hand thumb rule. So this is clockwise, and then do it. So that is how, like, this is how like you distinguish between inner surface and outer surface. So which side is solid and which side is out. So using this philosophy, they have see, STL file is a very repetitive, recursive file which contains repeatedly the same information. So in fact, like every vertex is represented at least twice in the. So that is why like there is a lot of data redundancy in a traditional STL ASCII format. So so you can see that you have a solid name and then list of facets, and then end facet, and then again another facet will come. So like this, the entire surface is defined in terms of triangular facets. So you can see how egg is represented in terms of triangular mesh, and then similarly this this object, how it is converted into STL file format, right? So for example, here you have, for this particular 3D object, it has 4028 facets. So that is the, so again, how many, with what density you are going to define this surface is, it again depends on like how accurately you want to represent the surface, right? Say for example, like for a cube, the simple 12 facets are good enough, but whereas for a egg, where the curvature of the surface is changing constantly, you need to go for more density of facets than that you are using for a regular shaped cube. Now, as I said, like we follow this. So exterior surface is out, and then interior surface, like depending on how you are sequencing the, what you call, the order in which you are going to put the vertices, that defines the face normal. So here, and for this we use right hand rule, and here we also follow another, not only this right hand rule, but we also follow vertex to vertex rule. That is, a triangle must exactly share two common vertices with each adjacent triangle. Like so here, this is the you can see here. Here you can see that these two triangles are they are sharing two of their vertices with another triangle, whereas here this is not acceptable, because here these two vertices are not being shared with any other triangle. So so this is a incorrect. So here this rule, right hand rule, and this vertex to vertex rule are are strictly followed. Now coming to interface options during the creation of STL file, like you have to use what you call interface options. That is, what is the triangulation tolerance, adjacency tolerance, and then auto normal generation, normal display. These are the some of the options that any software will ask before it converts into STL format. So you have to specify this triangulation tolerance based on how accurately you want the surface to be represented in 3D printer. Using 3D printer, sometimes you may have to even note down the limitations of the machine also when you are deciding this triangulation tolerance, adjacency tolerance. And anyway, auto normal generation, this is only to what you call, only verify whether there is a consistency in the normal depiction. Now, if, like for example, if you put normal display on, what happens is you can check visually whether finally the STL file that you got is having no errors. Sometimes visual inspection can help you to identify what is wrong with your STL file. So anyway, we are going to discuss those some of the issues in the coming slides. So triangle display, like that is mesh display, and header information. So these are the some of the what you call issues we are going to discuss now. So there are various problems with STL file format. Like one is problems due to the triangular boundary representation. Right, that is anyway, I will show you visually how this is like. Another problems intrinsic to the STL file formats, right, like file size, truncation errors, incompleteness, inconsistency, inconsistent normals, incorrect normals. So that means these are all intrinsic to STL format. Problem due to data conversion and transfer algorithms. So like here, this is data conversion means, and the transfer algorithm means, like for example, if you take Unigraphics, it has some native format, but and since you want STL file format, they use various data conversion and transfer algorithm to generate a STL. So during that, again, you may face a lot of what you call problems in terms of like problems due to gaps, internal walls, or you may end up degenerate facets like geometric degeneracy, topological degeneracy, and what you call incorrect intersections. So there are first problem is triangular boundary representation. Then second problem, major, you can, that means we have categorized problems in terms of three domains, 1, 2, 3. So this is, whereas this problem is due to triangular boundary representation. This is due to intrinsic to like truncation errors, that is, and then we have problem due to data conversion. So let us look at the first one. So you take approximation. The major problem with the triangulated boundary representation is that the curved facet can only be approximated by triangular facets. A large number of facets gives a high approximation accuracy, but results in a extremely large amount of data. So here, if you take this curve, free form curve surface, like the more you finely defined using more number of triangular facets, the more it is nearer to this. So you have to decide with how much density you should define a given surface with the triangular facets. So that is again some guidelines sometimes a kind of experience on the machine as well as modeling can automatically, you can get that intrinsic knowledge to decide like what could be an appropriate one. Because see, again, here it is a trade-off between so many parameters: the accuracy, the extra amount of data that you generate because of if you are using large number of phases, right? The accuracy of the machine, the error you can afford in the surface. So it is a kind of a trade-off between all these conflicting kind of one. Some kind of, you have to do some kind of informal optimization, right? Here to arrive at the right kind of trade-off between various conflicting kind of requirement, right? Or limitations of the situation. Now coming to problems intrinsic to the STL format. So here we have the file size. So file size, what is the, see here, as I said, every vertical, every vertex is repeatedly, there is a large redundancy, because as I said, like every triangular facet shares two vertices with the other one, and every time you are creating a triangular facet, its data has to be separately represented. So what is happening is here STL file sizes are unnecessarily large because of the file format that was followed. And similarly, facet normal information is also redundant. So since the semantics of the representation allow this to be calculated from the order vertex list of every facet. So there is a large data redundancy. Then coming to truncation errors, like vertex coordinates and normal coordinates of each phase are present by single precision real numbers. Their actual values being truncated. Like it's like say you are normally you can't like there is a limitation in the hardware, whether 16 decimal accuracy you want or 8 decimal only it will take. So naturally this kind of truncation error can create some kind of incompleteness also, and sometimes inconsistency also. So that is, so if you want to reduce this truncation errors, go for a higher precision real numbers, because that will reduce the subsequent incompletion or income. STL file incomplete describes the triangular boundary because topology information is not stored. So topology means like how each edge is whether there is a convex or concave kind of relationships, like that is the information will be lost because of this, because of truncation. If this were present, then what happens is like you can do process planning such as slicing. So this triangulation, this topology information is important for that. So, and then similarly inconsistency. If it is like, for example, inconsistent tolerance can create like, for example, what happens is, see, normally the work space of each machine, sometimes it is too small for the given object that you are planning to print. So what we do is we divide a given component into various sections, and we develop each section, and then later we will, anyway we are using this, most of the 3D printers are used for what you call prototype. So we will generate the 3D printing fun by keeping the what you call what do you call, work volume of the machine. So what happens? We take only we generate with different parts of the same component, and later we will just uh, using some binding agent like a glue or something like that, we create the prototype. So whenever we are generating the 3D figure, 3D component like that, so what happened is sometimes there is an inconsistency tolerance by appending to. So that is, so when you are ever appending to models, then again that consistency, inconsistent normals. So here facet normals, like for example here in this figure you can see that, like here you see that correct normals, whereas flipped normals for the same when it is triangulated. See these, even though all these face normals should project outwards, but what is happening is the some of the shaded normals are pointing in the opposite direction. So this happens because of the truncation. Part of the reason is truncation, or you might have come up with a very improperly designed where there are too many ups and downs. So that kind of, so fortunately these inconsistent normals can also be repaired. Okay, so and then coming to incorrect normals, and these things can be some of the situations you are likely to face in uh, a whenever you are converting a native format to STL format. Now coming to problems due to data conversion and transfer algorithms. So here gaps, surface facets connect to closed surface and close. If any facet is missing, then the shell is punctured. So here you can see that here see here you can see these are the gaps. So for example, even though this is the real curve, but it is represented by surfaces. So there is always any triangular edge will not exactly match with this surface. So they are in, obviously you, what you call, you see a gap there. So whenever you are slicing it, what happens is these gaps get showed up here like this, right? So that may create what is so called stray vectors with no endpoints. So there is a, actually you should have a very closed polygon, right? But you end up having an unclosed polygon, and whenever you are generating the G&M codes for this polygon, so sometimes the printer seems to be going beyond this border because it doesn't know there is a border there, right? So here that is what we do, that is what we mean by gaps, all right? And here problems due to data conversion and transfer algorithms. So here we have degenerate facets. Facets may be degenerate, having zero area and therefore no defined surface normal. There are two kinds of facet, like topological degeneracy and geometry degeneracy. So this topological degeneracy, you can actually see, for example, here, this is a 3-point topological degeneracy, like where even though you have 3 points, but they are coincident because of truncation. And similarly, here you have a 2-point degenerate triangle. So one vertex is here and 2 vertices have coincided, whereas here all the 3 vertices have coincided. So what happens is you get a a topological. That means you have a, even though there are three vertices, but with zero area. And similarly here, geometrical degeneracy means here you can see that like all these three, it so happened while doing triangulation, these 3 points which should be part of a triangular facet, but you don't get a triangular facet because all are in collinear. So here because of collinear you don't get triangle, so that is again a geometrical degeneracy. So these are the some of the these kind of things happen during data conversion and transfer algorithms. And then incorrect intersections. Actually, people who are still interested in this kind of some of these leaks, we call it as leaks. So some of these problems, you can refer the book by Ian Gibson and Ben Strucker. They have beautifully given some more beautiful examples on this, right? Now, like incorrect intersections. Another problem with it is like facets may intersect at incorrect locations. So apart from at their edges. So like here it has completely interpenetrated. So this is this will lead to what you call again you don't get a good that means you have generated a, if you have such kind of situations means you have generated a wrong STL file format which cannot be subsequently used in a 3D printer. So before you send it to 3D printer, first of all you have to just keep a checklist whether there is a possibility of these kind of things happening. Like for example here you take here if this octagonal what do you call prism has to be generated. So what you do, we do slicing, right? So we do slicing here, and then what we do is then we send it to the 3D printer, and it will do this what do you call it will do by raster. It will try to generate each slice, so it will build up. But suppose you end up having some kind of model where you have a, say for this particular what you call rectangle, this has not been sliced properly or faceted. It was not divided into two triangular faces. So what happens, because of some reason during conversion and translation, data translation, so what happens, this is depicted, so you use a sliced plane, you cut it, and this is what you get. So there is a leak here, or so this leak will, what happens when you are finally you have given to a 3D printer, the nozzle will go beyond this boundary. So you will be wondering why this is happening. So that's why what you have to do is you should always check that kind of, so before you really, sometimes it is better to use some kind of simulation software, use some dry runs, because 3D printers, particularly metal 3D printers, are expensive. So you can't afford to have such kind of errors in your operation. So particularly for metal 3D, see for example the one which we have purchased in NIT Warangal is almost 1.5 crores. So every minute of that machine is counts, and most of the time we end up using lot of materials, costly materials, where each kg sometimes is 4,000 or 5,000. So the running costs are also very high. So before you send it to the machine. You have to check whether it has been faceted triangular facet, whether it has happened properly or not, like whether these kind of gaps have come or not. Then and you just using some kind of, like, fortunately what happened is there are third party or free courseware, free code that is available to repair such kind of situations, right? They will automatically correct that. So, and in fact certain softwares, they do that self check and then finally do it. It is no more a very what do you call tedious work, but sometimes it is always better to be on safe side to do simulation and dry runs before you actually generate the what do you call the 3D model. And coming to what are the advantages? See, advantages of STL file format is easy conversion, right? Is very simple because everything you are sorry. So everything you are converting into just planar triangles, and then wide range of input, most 3D represented to triangulated boundary due to wide applicability of the available surface triangulation algorithms. So it is like it is the paradox of kind of what you call typewriter. See, typewriter, now most of the typewriters are like, even though you have moved from mechanical typewriters to what you call computer type keyboards, but still we are using the same QWERTY arrangement, because see whatever. So similarly, since STL file format is the first format developed for 3D printing, so most of the software vendors have, or research workers have done lot of research, and they have come with a lot of different kind of surface triangulation algorithms. So even though there are certain inherent disadvantages with STL file, still because of a lot of ecosystem was developed around this, so now you can't avoid an STL file simply because so much peripheral technologies are dependent on this particular STL type, like triangulation algorithms or slicing algorithms. All these are dependent on STL only. So simple slicing algorithm. This is also like there are and because and fortunately they are very simple, like and then similarly this is another greater advantage of STL file, ability to split models. If the build space workspace of the RP is small, then what happens, you must be split into parts that individually fit into the build space. This is easily achieved for a triangulated board. So you can split the parts into and then build the whole model, even using a small workspace build space. You can create big objects because later you can join them using some, because most of the time we are using right now mainly for what do you call, either for aesthetics purpose or prototype design, so of complicated parts. So we can always do, see it is a kind of divide and conquer kind of strategy, how to um, go beyond the limitations of the machine. So for this STL file formats, using STL formats, you can easily split the models. And then challenges of STL file is duplicate information, leaks, and inconsistency. Like for example, as I said, so all the particular leaks means, as I said, like how to identify certain leaks in an STL file is again, sometimes most of the software vendors, they check with using Euler's equation, Like as I said, V plus F minus E is equal to 2. So that is then you automatically check that. So like duplicate information. Anyway, duplicate information, even though in one way it is good, because sometimes you may have some kind of corruption in the data, but because of duplication you may try to build the lost data. So but anyway, all these three things we have already discussed. Then inconsistency, like in showing normals, face normals, does not scale well to high resolution and lattices. So there is nothing like automatic scaling. And this is also another. And then does not support color, materials and orientation. All right, because when they started, so now what is happening is our the people have come with an improved version of this, an improved version of data exchange format, neutral file format. We see normally STL file format is called as neutral file format because it is neutral to any particular hardware. So just like PostScript is neutral or device independent, STL is also printer independent file format. So so these, what happened is now people are thinking that because of these challenges here, people have come up with what is so called AMF file format. So which we are going to now discuss. So where some of these resolutions have been addressed. So additive manufacturing format, this is based on XML, extensible markup language. So sometimes this XML is called as format of formats. It is a meta format because one beauty of XML is extensible markup language is that it is again a neutral file format, and the beauty is you can customize it. All right, and it doesn't demand any what you call separate editing tools. So even in using MS Word, you can read an XML format. See, actually, its precursor was HTML, hypertext markup language. So because HTML has a lot of limitations, people have come with XML, that is extensible markup language. And extensible markup language, there are so many different kinds of XML depending on the field of application. Like you have XML format separately for mathematics, physics, chemistry. So similarly, what happened is using that customizability of formatting, the AMF people, so the ASTM has adopted this XML because you can create a separate XML file format, customizable extensible format for additive manufacturing, whereby you try to avoid the problem that we have seen before, like inconsistency, leaks, all these things, and duplication. So it is a text-based format, and then easy to write and parse. That means you can split a word, and then you can use existing editing tools. As I said, extensible means like you can customize it to particular and highly compressible. This is very, very important. That one of the beauties of AMF is like this highly compressible. So anyway, we'll come to that. And the general concept is there are objects defined by volume and material. Volumes defined by triangular mesh. It is defined by property names. Color properties can be specified. Materials can be combined. That is graded and lattice mesostructures. constellation of objects can be defined, repeated instances, packaging. So some of this is the philosophy with which, so texture mapping means like you can add different textures to the surface, rough and that means you can roughly indicate, like for example, see the 3D printing is also being used for various making some fashionable items, particularly uh, making different kinds of clothing for the uh, woman. So naturally, there this texture mapping is very important. So people are now incorporating the texture mapping into AMF format. So you have graded materials and FGMs, like you can present easily in a AMF, and lattice, different lattice structures, double garoid, single garoid, right? So now these structures, they are taking funny kind of forms. So if they have to be supported properly, I think AMF is a better option than STL. And then constellation, like you can see, you can like if you are doing rivet, you have a rivet, and which repeats so many what you call times, or some standardizing certain threading and nuts. So you can you need not repeat every time. You can create a one instance of it, and then you can say for the details you can, so you can create a repeated instances of it. So that is one, right? So these are some of the features that are being planned in AMF. Say for example, so this is what I said, like object. So sometimes it creates a kind of leaks like this. So uh, see, this is the, like if you take a chess elephant, like if it is just a indicating the how the coordinate system is a representation of it. So now coming to file size of STL AMF, so you can see that there is a huge difference of an ASCII based STL, American Standard Code for Information Interchange, that is the full form of ASCII. So ASCII STL, if it is occupying file size of 750 kilobytes for this chess what you call object, whereas the AMF file format compressed one is consuming only 50. And in between you have various, so binary STL is less than the AMF, but ASCII STL compressed is again less than binary STL, but binary STL compressed is still less, but beating this binary STL compressed, it is still more less. But actually this may not be a very critical usage, because thanks to again Moore's law, now hardware things like memories have come down rapidly. So I think this is not a big issue now. So but still, having less files is always better, less size of files. And then like see, in traditional STL you can have a planar patch, but whereas in the AMF you can go for curved patches. So thereby you can reduce the error between actual surface and the triangulated surface. So that is the another beauty of AMF files, right, whereby by using curved patches you can increase the geometric accuracy. And then recursive triangle subdivision. So like for example, if you feel this triangular facet is not depicting accurately this. So you can convert again this triangle into 4. Still further you can reduce it. So this is what is called 4 to the power of n planar triangles. So you can see, like, if you compare this, sphere with this, you can see that the sphere is more smooth than this. So in that way, but at the same time, what is the penalty we are paying for this is, like, you have more data, the file size will increase rapidly. So, but what is happening is, with the increased accuracy of rapid prototyping machines, and then you have now large memories, many computers, again thanks to Moore's law, it is always better to go for this, unless you are generating a sphere using your tabletop self-fabricated FDM machine, right? But for when you want to make an industrial grade kind of component, naturally this kind of surface finish may not be acceptable to the industry, right? So you may have to go for this. So this kind of recursive triangle subdivision is also supported in, so that what is happening is, you can reduce the file size. That is the beauty of this strategy, recursive triangle subdivision. So here you can see, like, curved triangles, improved accuracy. Like, for example, simple STL file here, and as you are increasing the error on unit sphere, so it has come down to, like, number of triangles, it is, see, 1 million, but the error has come down by order of magnitude. But again you have to be sure, right, whether you need so much accuracy, because most of the 3D printers, they are operating at this level, 0.01 mm. So even if you are generating with such a nano level kind of error, but what is the use when you can't produce that particular smooth curved shape? So as I said previously, like, you have to make a kind of uh, uh, what do you call, so here there is a comparison between STL and AMF with the normal. So you can see the accuracy of curved. So, like, for example, like, even though they are consuming same triangles, the accuracy has increased so much, right? Because the truncation errors as well as the curved patches is leading to less error in the unit sphere, right? So this is how, like, but since we are operating only at this level, that is we have only, maybe we are operating in the range of between, most machines are between 0.1 and 0.01, and there are very few machines which in this, and there is no machine 3D printer which can realize in this kind of accuracies, micron level kind of, like 1 micron is still, it is far away from the so that means still the 3D printers are in the nascent stage. Okay, and then it can support multiple materials, like the crown of this elephant is one material, and then it can support graded materials, functionally graded. So this AMF structure can support this, and microstructure, right? And then current status is AMF was approved in May 2011, so as ASTM F2915, and revision happened in now it is in test of adoption. So we are still far away from what do you call the paradox is still people are not using AMF. Still people are using STL only. Maybe in 5 years, maybe it may come to full adoption, because anyway we will discuss AMF formats in more detail in the coming classes. In the last session of this course, you will see like what is the complexity involved. Even though I have discussed AMF on the surface, but this is but if you when we are reviewing that AMF, what are the problems, you will come to know that why AMF is still not in usage as expected. So like in AMF, they want to introduce tolerances, surface depth textures, data encryption, so that people will not violate copyrights, and then external references, subassembly, process control, non-volumetric support structures, non-mesh geometric specification method, voxel theorem. So these are some of the 3D printing, what you call, and other data formats. So 3D, like you have STL, SLC, SLI. These are some of the formats. Except STL, the other formats are proprietary, confined to a particular technology. All right. So anyway, these are not so much important for us. And other IGS, initial graphics specification, then Hewlett-Packard computerized tomography, like DICOM. Like DICOM is another data format. In fact, like medical imaging follows DICOM. So that we convert into STL and other things using what you call Mimix software. All right. So anyway, STEP is a higher version. What is AMF to STL? STEP is what is for IGS. So again, here also people are still mostly, for most of the common purposes, they are using IGS only rather than STEP. So this comes to the end of my presentation. So if people have any doubts or clarifications, they're ready to.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Abdul Wahab Hashmi. I'm from MNIT Jaipur.
Okay.
Sir, I have a question regarding the STL format.
Huh.
Sir, as you explained that there is a degeneracy and lots of difficulties in STL. So
Yes.
in additive manufacturing or 3D printing process, the most common effect comes in a picture, the stair-stepping effect. So how the STL format, how much it is responsible for stair-stepping effect in AM process, and how is it possible to reduce this stair-stepping effect to modify the STL format?
Yeah. See, that is what I said.
Yeah.
Now there is a third party. Like in fact, most of the machines are they are incorporating auto correction algorithms.
Yes.
So otherwise, suppose if the machine doesn't supply, like for example, like you have some make your own kind of 3D printer, then you get it verified in using some third party open source software. So see, that's why if you have to manually repair a corrupted STL file, it takes hell of a time. So it is always better to depend third party software.
Okay, sir. So we have to manually repair it. Sir, one more question in STL.
No manual. It will take a lot
Yes,
of
sir.
time. You have to use some third party repairing algorithms.
Okay. So, so that can be repaired in any the MATLAB software, any other. MATLAB we can prepare algorithm.
See,
Sir,
actually,
one
what
more
is
question in sir, in triangulation, why we use the triangular triangle rather than another polygon? So can we prefer any other polygon for translation?
what is that?
Sir, any other polygon we choose a triangle. So there is any possibility for other than triangle we can choose any other polygon?
No. No. As we have discussed in my presentation, like the beauty of the triangulation is like it can be easily sliced using simple algorithms, and
Okay.
so
So,
slicing.
sir,
So because as far as possible, you have to avoid that interpenetration.
yes.
I have told you, like one triangle going without cutting into it, it has just passed through. That is a big nuisance. So you, to minimize that, it is always using this what you call a triangular mesh. See, Chakahal, in that way, he did a very fantastic job. Simple, even though there is a bit of redundancy, and in fact, now that redundancy is not acting as a hindrance for us. So this is just because anyway, memories have become cheaper. Bandwidth frequency, bandwidth data transfer has become cheaper. So now it is not an issue. So as I said, like even though AMF can be compressed to 1/20th of standard STL, but that is not a great advantage. But people anyway, they started it and they are continuing.
Sir,
Are you
Krishnan,
getting?
sir. Sir, this is Dr. Shivaram Krishnan, sir.
Yeah. Tell me.
Sir, to his question, I also want to add whatever you answered. Triangle element is the smallest 2D element that you can get. That's more refining also. That's why most of the time you go for triangular element. That also another reason.
Yeah. Yes. Very good. Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Sir, I wanted to. I'm Shreyas Rathi from Amravati. I wanted to ask that is there any possibility or scope of research in AMF?
Yeah. Actually, see, right now, see, in AM there is a lot of scope for research because people are not ready to work on it, because sometimes it is a very what you call repetitive and what you call mind numbing kind of research.
Okay.
So people are not touching it. but actually, in fact, that is one of the reasons why there is a delay in implementing AMF, because even though there are around 40 committees working on various aspects of AMF, still nobody is not doing, sitting at a place and trying to do some job.
Okay.
There is enough scope for research, but unfortunately that research may not be what you call intellectually what you call useful for if someone attempts to do it. See, it is like most of the Indians are doing what they are doing, quality testing kind of.
Correct.
So still there is a actually auto correction algorithms. You can develop novel slicing algorithms. You can develop AMF is there is a lot of possibility. Only thing is, I think when we discuss in the last session, I will tell you like what are the issues involved there.
Okay,
what
sir.
kind of research opportunities are there in the AMF side?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, can I ask one question, sir? This is Dr. Shivaram. Sir, thanks for a nice presentation on this errors in STL, because in other books we are not finding that much explanation. You have given a very nice explanation. Only my doubt is regarding the, is there any relationship between the facet normal direction and the orientation of field? Is there any?
What is that? What is that?
When we divide triangulation, we do it no, sir. We have a facet normal to the triangle. Each triangle has got a normal. Is there any relationship between that facet normal facet normal direction and the orientation with which we build a part in the 3D printers? Is there any relation?
Facet normal and orientation.
Facet normal direction and the 3D, when we build a part in the 3D printer, that orientation will put in a different way in a 3D printer. Orientation also one parameter we have to select when we build a part in 3D printer. Is there any relationship between both of them, sir? That
there will be I don't think there is a very big difference.
Okay.
Because see, the main limitation right now with most of the 3D printers is the inherent inaccuracy of the machine itself.
Okay.
So as I said now, like AMF is able to use curved triangular facets.
Okay.
So you can increase actually the surface accuracy, but what is the use like when you don't have machines to that kind of micron kind of machining? Most of the AMF machines are only 0.02 or 0.01 kind of.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, but as you say, in fact, I think that mostly it is mostly of a function of the what it is thickness of the slice.
Okay.
Depending on the orientation, you have to choose the right kind of slice thickness to negate those.
Okay.
Rather than this relation between face normal and the orientation.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sir Ramakrishna. Okay.
Hello. Sir,
Hello.
Sir, one more last question. Sir, just you explained that STL format doesn't support the multiple colors. So, sir, there is the other format, OBJ format is supported the multicolor. So, same is like the AMF format support the multiple color in 3D printing. Is it support, sir?
No, actually, this color is again a function of the machine, right? Like if you are using multi-jet kind of, then they will have their own proprietary way of incorporating the colors. But standard STL file format doesn't support any color information. I don't know whether I have answered your question.
Thank you so much. I got it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Am I audible, sir? This is Dhanasekaran.
Yeah. Tell me.
Sir, I have a question. First of all, thank you for the nice knowledge sharing to all of us, which is new to many of our faculty members. Sir, actually, you have.
Hello.
Hello, sir. His connection might have gone. Okay, sir. Krishnan, sir, I think you might have left actually. Okay, so we'll conclude the session, sir. Here, I think. Thank you very much, sir, for your presentation and enlightening us on STL as well as AMF, the disadvantages of STL and